This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Brent Barnett, and Riley Smith. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Monday, May the 2nd, 2022. Hard to believe we're over one-third through the year already. Coming up on this show today, Riley Smith had a chance to talk with the folks at the U.S. Meat Export Federation and hear about some of the consequences the Russian invasion of Ukraine is having on red meat exports. I also talk with Iowa farmer and United Soybean Board member Tom Oswald. We also take a look at your ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down those markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we've come to the end of the trading day on Monday, and we're going to turn to Robin Schmhal of Ag Dairy, which, of course, is a subsidiary of John Stewart & Associates, just like agmarket.net. Robin, thanks for taking the time to visit with us today.
Well, thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
So, grain markets look like they took it on the chin a little bit today. Tell us what happened.
Okay. Yeah, it's always on. Farmers don't like it when you see something like this. It's healthy for the market to see a little bit of a pullback, but you know, we have this scenario we're always talking about. Rain makes grain, or planting the dust in the bins will bust, and we have both of it unfolding right now. But I think there's been no really reports of grain exports over the weekend or overnight. China's on holiday today. As far as the soybean market is concerned, China wants to sell 500 metric tons, 500 million or 500,000 metric tons of their soybean stocks on Friday. So it's one of the situations where the market really didn't have a lot of fresh news today to really provide a catalyst. And we're looking at crop progress, maybe around 20% on the corn planting. And so we're going to be running behind, obviously, but we know that we can plant fairly quickly. And some beneficial rains are falling across some places. Some places are waiting to get in the field. But you know, it's just one of those things that the market may be carving out a sideways trading range here until it sees what is going to be unfolding in a little bit. And as far as wheat is concerned, conditions should get a little bit better, maybe from the moisture that's had, but spring wheat's running a little bit behind. But again, not a lot in that market to really make any push higher, although it held well today.
All right. And so we've been hearing reports already, though, that there are some producers, especially in wheat, talking about possibly plowing under. Are you seeing that maybe in some areas or some of the customers you're talking to?
Well, I haven't really come across that in my customers that I've talked to. A lot of them said their wheat is looking pretty good. But, you know, if indeed we're not seeing, or they may not seeing be seeing a really good, healthy stand as far as conditions are concerned, I could see that maybe potentially happening, but I haven't seen a lot. I haven't heard a lot of it from my customers.
All right. And so, of course, the markets are also going to be turning pretty soon to that WASDE report coming out, believe it to be next week. I mean, what kind of things are we going to start seeing? I mean, I know this is where we first start to see the new crop estimates start to come out, and with the new crop that's kind of behind right now with planting, I mean, how much impact is that going to have?
Well, that's always a wild card. I generally feel that USDA generally wants to be a little bit conservative when they come out with the estimations or their expectations. And so I don't really think we're going to see anything that's going to be any real barn burning, create a lot of volatility. I think they're going to be conservative coming out because they want to wait and see as well how many acres are going to get planted. You know, what are conditions going to be? I'm assuming they're probably going to increase some of the exports potential, but I don't think it's going to be a real volatile market mover.
All right, so turning our attention to livestock, then what did we see in the cattle markets, hog markets, and such?
Well, the cattle market got the catalyst it needed today with the lower grain prices. Really pushed primarily the feeder cattle up almost $6 in the August contract. Significant rebound, taking away all of the losses from last week. Live cattle were up, triple-digit gains as well, not quite as much. Didn't even go up close to limit, but we had the higher cash trade last week, steady to higher. There's some anticipation that they were going to see some more higher cash this week. However, cattle or the packers have a bunch of cattle forward contracted already for the next couple of weeks. So there's a little bit concern over how much they may be willing to step up to the plate, even though demand remains good right now. We have seen weakness in box beef. Now today, we did see at the midday report, we saw both choice and select box beef higher. Hogs could not follow suit with cattle. They're under technical pressure, I believe. It's the path of least resistance. The head and shoulders top that's been touted in the June contract is still in place. And I think that's where that pressure is coming in. And also, traders are not able to find any solid support in the cutout market. That's what the market really needs, is solid support in the cutout. Now, the National Direct afternoon report, we saw lower cash again in hogs. And that's not a good sign, but we did see a slightly lower cutouts as well. And we don't know what the end result will be, but it's still giving us an indication that it's just not there yet. And hope is that the grilling season, as it picks up a little bit with warmer weather, will change some of that demand scenario and, just get things rolling a little bit. It'll be a good buying opportunity at some point because our supplies of hogs are still tight and they're expected to tighten as we move further along.
All right, Robin. Well, we got a lot of good information for our Iowa producers there. If they want to make some connections with agmarket.net to make some marketing decisions, how do they get in touch?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253, or they can go to agmarket.net online, and there's phone numbers there and contact information to get a hold of us.
All right, Robin. Well, we thank you so much for the insight as always and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
All right. Thank you.
That again was Robin Schmhal of Ag Dairy, which is part of John Stewart and Associates, just like agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at those closing numbers brought to us by Bar Chart. July corn is down a dime at 8.03 and a half. December new crop down 9 at 7.42 and a quarter. July beans were down 39 and a half at 16.45 and a quarter. November down 24 and a quarter at 14.90 and a half. Soy meal for July down $1.40 at 4.30.90. Soy oil down $4.09 at $80.09. Chicago wheat down a quarter cent at 10.55 and a half. Minneapolis up 1 3/4 at 11.67 3/4. Kansas wheat down 7 3/4 at 10.98 even. Oats down 3 3/4 at 6.54. On the livestock side, August live cattle up $1.77 at 137.05. May feeders up $5.07 at 161.42. Lean hogs down $1.40 at 104.97. Pork cutouts down 92 cents at 111.90. Class 3 milk down 30 cents. That's at 24.17. And that's been the Ag Market Recap here on AM/PM. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, Riley Smith is talking with Erin Borror of the U.S. Meat Export Federation. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
This is AM/PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. The Russian invasion of Ukraine is now into its third month, and it's been adding more pressure to a situation that's already been under pressure. The U.S. Meat Export Federation has done its analysis on what impact this has on the red meat exports. Riley Smith files this report.
The war in Ukraine has been going on for 3 months now, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like it'll be ending anytime soon. It's had an impact on just about every global market, including U.S. red meat. U.S. Meat Export Federation Vice President of Economic Analysis Erin Borror talked about how the war in Ukraine is impacting red meat availability and production.
Again, on the red meat side, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus combined, I think, exported maybe around 60,000 tons of beef to China. So there is a little bit of red meat trade that gets interesting. But where it really matters is on the feed side. And so Ukraine is, let's see, the number 3 corn exporter, number 2 barley exporter, number 1 sunflower exporter, and number 5 on wheat. And Russia has been the largest wheat exporter. And so there's obviously growing concern about feed availability, especially in Europe, of which Ukraine is 40% of EU imports of corn, barley, and wheat. And for example, China, Ukraine is about 23% of those same imports. So on the feed side, there's real concern about availability, because not only are we worried about this crop that should be planted right now, but also the grain in storage that was still to be exported for the rest of this crop year. And those exports are not going out of the Ukrainian ports right now. They're working to try to do some grain trade by rail into Europe, but basically you're looking at product that's still yet to ship, not going, and then real questions about the current crop and whether Ukraine can get it in the ground.
While the lower feed supply will have an impact on every livestock market, it will be especially tough for European hog production. Borror said they've already been seeing reductions from African swine fever, and the war has only made that issue more pronounced.
So Europe has already been reducing their herds, and if we recall, Europe's pork prices have been under pressure going all the way back to ASF in Germany, so September of 2020. Prices were in decline before that, and then that really exacerbated a downturn in Europe's pig prices. And then you had China demand essentially evaporating last summer, so mid of 2021. And so European producers were losing money, and that's before we see war in Ukraine. So in December, their pig inventory was down 3%, sow inventory was down 3.6%, and steep decreases in Germany specifically, which is again the combination of ASF and additional animal welfare and environmental regulations and costs that have been impacting those producers. And so there's contraction underway already in Europe. And then you add on even higher feed costs and real concerns about availability. In the very immediate situation, we've seen those European pig prices jump by like 35% over the past month. And we're starting to close that gap where we have been at a premium, US has been at a premium to Europe since March of 2021, and that's not normal. Usually we're the lower cost producer and thus lower price. And we've been out of whack for over a year now.
These issues, among others, will cause a long-lasting domino effect. Borror said that the impacts from the war will likely last far beyond the current growing season.
It's not going to be short term, so they should be planting now. I've heard completely mixed reports on how that may or may not progress, but we also know there's port infrastructure damage. We know there's concern about ships not wanting to sail into a war zone, so you have both likely limited production, likely curtailed exports out of Ukraine, tight global balance sheets even before this. So on the feed side, it looks, yes, to be significant and something that's going to last at least into next year, if not the next year. And then you have all these knock-on effects of what inflation does in these economies, and especially in the more developing countries, and the concern about, again, food availability and pricing and the ripple impacts across the world.
For more information, you can visit USMEF.org. For the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, I'm Riley Smith.
Thanks, Riley. And now let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. Well, the sun tried to peek through, but the clouds won out most of the day today. Rain showers remain in our forecast, but for how long? Let's take a look what the National Weather Service has in store.
Well, we did see quite a bit of cloud cover here in Des Moines with a few sprinkles to start the day, but those showers will be hanging around. We saw a better chance for shower activity in the western part of the state, but those are going to start to creep their way to the east. Highs today, we're in the upper 40s to the upper 50s. Tonight, those showers are going to become likely across much of the state. We're going to see lows dipping down into the upper 30s to the upper 40s. Now, those showers are going to start to tape off from west to east as the day goes on tomorrow. We'll just start to see it in the west side earlier in the morning, midday in the center, and then probably mid to late afternoon in the eastern parts of the state. We'll see temperatures anywhere from the mid to upper 50s, if not 60. Looking at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will see mostly cloudy skies with some peaks of sun in 57. The same for Shenandoah, but a high of 60 degrees. Des Moines will see those showers start to taper off about midday, early afternoon, and highs around 58. Same in Albia. Their showers are going to push off later in the afternoon, a high of 57. Waterloo also 57 degrees and showers pushing off mid-afternoon. Clinton will see their showers start to taper off late afternoon, early evening, and a high of 56 degrees.
For more detailed forecasts in your local area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. That's been a check of your ag weather outlook. When we come back after this short break, I talk with Tom Oswald of the United Soybean Board. This is Ag Matters PM.
As we approach planting season, make sure you stay safe and share the road with your local farmers. Slow-moving tractors with large planters occupy a lot of space on the road, so stay patient and follow at a distance of around 50 feet. You should never, ever try to pass them at a bridge, intersection, hill, or curve. It's far better than putting yourself or someone else at risk. So please, stay safe and remember to tip your hat to your local farmer this planting season. This message was brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
Welcome back to AM/PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Iowa farmer Tom Oswald is also a member of the United Soybean Board of Directors. He was talking to us about how they're responsible for the investments made in checkoff dollars and how they stay accountable to the farmers they serve.
I am the Audit and Evaluation Chair on USB as my service on the Executive Committee. And oftentimes one of the first things growers want to know is, what are you doing with my money? Well, our display here is all about that. It's all about you. What is your investment done? Because the way I look at it, audit and evaluation is about making sure we follow the rules within checkoff. A lot of people don't realize how important it is we handle the money properly. Evaluation is about making sure that money is deployed in an effective and efficient manner. And so that is a big thing in the hearts of my mind. The way I like to think about it is, dollars come out of a farmer back pocket. If we can put 10s and 20s back in, we're doing our job.
Oswald shows us how they are using some of those investments in the Mississippi River upgrades that are helping more beans in the watershed get to port faster.
So if you look around our display, one of the things that's really cool is right behind me is this visual of how $2 million investment in researching the needs that would help move a project forward on dredging the lower Mississippi, which of course reduces costs of shipping. And that estimate is that a $2 million one-time is going to turn into $461 million in annual revenue improvement dispersed up that whole shipping chain. Because let's face it, if we're not competitive, the Iowa soybean farmer or the soybean farmer wherever in the country is going to be less competitive. We got to stay competitive.
Oswald also talks about some of the newer innovations that are coming out of the industrial pipeline thanks to the work of the soybean checkoff.
There's other elements that are here. The tennis shoes that I'm wearing have the Goodyear soy rubber component to them. Well, maybe farmers don't realize there are Goodyear tires now that have been developed that have soy component in those tires. We have a soy drink over here developed by a company. It's kind of an interesting, refreshing drink that's on display. We have the Soybean Research Information Network right behind you. That's a network that farmers can log into. They got a production problem in research, log into Soybean Research Information Network, and you can probably find an answer to a production problem. That again is one of the many investments that farmers have made in years past, and as well as we look to the future, we got a lot of stuff looking to the future as well.
Oswald says they're also working hard to educate everybody on the benefits of soybeans in industry, including our producers.
People are concerned about stewardship and environment and sustainability, issues like carbon. We're looking at all those places at USB. The reason being is I'd like to think our job is to read the pulse and look for ways that we can make sure that the United States, U.S. soy, the U.S. soybean farmer can be competitive, engaged in the right place, so as opportunities emerge, they can walk through those doors.
This education also obviously extends to consumers, helping dispel rumors about modern agriculture and also help educate the general public on what farmers are doing to benefit the lands they're running is a big responsibility for the United Soybean Board.
You know, let's face it, the consumer wants to know, and in fact, I'm due to speak on a carbon panel a little later, and you know, a lot of things are top of mind with a lot of consumers. One of our jobs, quite honestly, is the listening to that. What is the consumer saying? Is there a misunderstanding that needs to be corrected? We listen for those things. Is there an opportunity to fill a void? Someone's saying, hey, why doesn't somebody come up with, for example, disposable bottles that break down naturally? And a lot of people are concerned about landfill, working in those spaces. It's a case of never sit still on what's working well, for example, biofuels, biodiesel, but also what could work well, because you can never sit still.
Again was Iowa farmer Tom Oswald, who is also a member of the United Soybean Board of Directors. And that's it for this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and find our video content as well as past episodes of Ag Matters PM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget about our free twice daily market podcasts. You can find them on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IRN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.